Springdale Public Schools would like to thank the following sponsors: McLarty Daniel, the Arkansas Broadcasters Association, Tyson Foods, Arvest Bank, and Explore Springdale.
If you want fast, easy, and affordable service, visit McLarty Daniel.
Keep your vehicle running like new in our state-of-the-art service facilities. We know your time is valuable. Our factory-certified technicians with decades of experience will get you in and out and back on the road quickly. We service all makes and models at our 6 convenient locations in Bentonville and Springdale. Open 6 days a week.
Visit McLartyDaniel.com to schedule your service appointment today.
Mark your calendars. Caroling on the Creek is back. Join Springdale Public Schools downtown on Friday, December 3rd for an evening full of holiday magic. Listen to the holiday classics performed by students all across the district and stop by for a visit with Santa. Don't forget, Caroling on the Creek is back on December 3rd starting at 5 p.m. at Shiloh Square and Turnbow Park.
When I walk through the halls of my high school, I see the constant pressure to be a doctor, or go into business, or pursue athletics. What if there was an opportunity to be something more? Skills USA offers you an opportunity to explore careers that matter, careers that we need now. Hands-on trade skills like electrical engineering, construction manufacturing, architectural drafting, and even television productions. With Skills USA, you can gain these essential skills that allow you to bridge the gap from education to careers right out of high school. Skills USA, champions at work.
Ballpark Franks got their start in 1957, right here in the ballpark. And with the taste of 100% Angus beef, passed down from one generation to the next, they soon became a tradition everywhere, bringing on the feeling of summer in every bite. Ballpark Franks, bring on summer.
Oh, hey there. Are you lost?
Yeah. Actually, I was trying to get
To TV?
Yeah. How did you...
I know everything, and getting to TV is as easy as a snap. This is the television classroom. This is where the magic happens. Hardworking students who are responsible and inspired create award-winning content, from film to broadcast to this commercial you're watching right now.
Wait, what? Could you please stop doing...
This is our broadcast studio, where students have produced the #1 broadcast show in the state of Arkansas for the past 12 years. Students learn real-life broadcast skills like producing a show, editing, shooting, and above all, having fun while being creative.
I don't feel so good.
You okay? Anyway, this is our faithful leader, Mr. Sherman, who makes all of this possible. Sherman, got anything you want to add?
Don't care.
Okay.
How many people, this is not a formal thing. I'll open it up for questions at the end. You can ask anything you want within reason. How many people want to go into medicine? Okay, how many people want to be nurses? Okay, how about doctors? Okay. Sorry, I was literally butt dialing somebody. What kind of doctor? Who raised their hand to be a doctor? Okay, what kind of doctor? ER. Okay, how about in the back? What was that? Okay, excellent. Say a PA, great. One of my, there's also something called nurse practitioner, which is, above a nurse, not above a nurse, different than a nurse, and also, helps people. I meet one of my best friends and assistants. Her name is Mandy Brackett. Her husband used to be the principal here. You guys may be young enough not to know that. But she's been with me like 8 or 9 years, and she is my first assistant in the OR. So she helps me do all of my surgeries. So I'm just going to touch on briefly kind of our practice and what we do and then why we do it, and then why you guys are going to be so important in dealing with obesity in the future, okay? So this is why I have a job. Losing weight is really hard, especially as you get older. In fact, the bigger you get, the harder it is. So this is what we're going to cover today. Now I've been here for 14 years, so I am now a Razorback. Love it, love Arkansas, love everything about it. However, I grew up in Oklahoma. However, I think we can all agree that we hate Texas, right? Yeah. You cannot go anywhere to college that isn't orange. That is not appropriate. So that's where I grew up, Tulsa. College at OU, med school at OU. I did my general surgery residency in Dallas at a place called UT Southwestern, and then over to Duke University for a fellowship in minimally invasive weight loss surgery. And I'm around a little over 8,000 of these now in 14 years. So we do a lot. You guys may actually know people that we've done. This is my better half. She's also a doctor, but she went into family practice and then transitioned into what we call bariatric medicine. So she doesn't do the surgeries, but she sees our patients on the front end and then gets them ready for surgery, and then does all their long-term follow-up. Dr. Kwan's been with me for 10 and a half years now. Dr. Jamie Dutton finished her fellowship at Stanford and then moved to Arkansas to join us about 3 years ago. And then Dr. Priest joined us about a year and a half ago. She finished hers at Missouri. So you can see these are not giant ladies, okay? Really tiny, but they do really big surgeries, and they're awesome. So I would say now probably half the surgeons are females, and I have 3 daughters, so that's a good thing. So we've opened it up. Okay, who knows what the path is to becoming a doctor? Okay, go to college. You have to go to college. That's the number one thing. Then you go to college, and then you have to get into med school. So what's really important are your grades. The grades in college matter. Okay, so you cannot have the freshman, year where, okay, don't do so well, make a few C's, and then you all of a sudden have to like make up for it. Because you don't get to count, you apply when you're a junior. So you didn't even get to count your senior year grades. All of that matters when you're getting in. Then you get to do it all over again when you apply for a residency. So in medical school, you get to pick what kind of doctor you want to be. Family practice, OBGYN, internal medicine, pediatrics, surgery. So I picked general surgery. It's a 5-year residency. And basically what you do is 5 years of nothing but surgery. And in general surgery, we basically do head to toe, necks, abdomens, legs, vascular, chest, you name it. I then chose to go on to something called a fellowship, which is where you specialize even further within the field of surgery. And I chose bariatric surgery, which is weight loss surgery. And then finally, after all of that, you actually get a job, you can start making money. So, and it'll be worth it. So that's what a fellowship is. It's basically an entire year of just being completely immersed in weight loss surgery. And that's it. I did mine at Duke. It was a great place, but we're glad to be back. Okay, so this is how we define obesity. We use a term called the body mass index. And it's basically how we can compare apples to apples. Because how do you know if someone's 6'6" and 350 pounds, how that compares to somebody who's 5'2" and 200? And this is the scale we use. So obesity actually starts at a BMI of 30. That's about 50, 60 pounds or more overweight. And then they've actually added 3 more categories. BMI over 50 is called supermorbid obesity. Over 60 is super morbid obesity, and so on. We didn't get very creative with the names. Is obesity in and of itself bad? No. Why is obesity bad? It's because of this list right here. It causes all of them. Heart disease, diabetes, which is the 6th leading cause of death in the country. What a lot of people don't think about is cancer. Obesity is responsible for at least 13 cancers that we know of. And in women, this is especially bad because you're talking about breast cancer, endometrial cancer, and ovarian cancer all go way up. There's actually a term now called diabesity. And why do we say that? That's because 95% of type 2 diabetics are obese. We had a very low rate of diabetes 3 decades ago, We had a very low rate of obesity 3 decades ago. But if you watch the trends, they both have gone up together. So when people lose the weight, their diabetes goes away, and that's why we connected them. So why do we do surgery for this? Why not just, do what everyone thinks you should do and just eat right and go exercise more and do it that way? It's because it doesn't work. Have you guys seen The Biggest Loser, the show? It's pretty amazing, right? These people go onto this camp and they do nothing but exercise all day long and have people make their food for them. They have no responsibilities at all. They just do whatever they're told. Have you ever wondered why they haven't had a reunion show? What do you think? They gained their weight back. So why? Why did they? There's a couple reasons. Number one, when they left the show, they went home. Jobs, kids, work, like life, where you can't just work out and eat right all day long. The second biggest reason is the average American can diet for about 3 months. Why is that? Well, there's, you guys are in high school, there's hormones going on. Well, you also have hormones in your abdomen, in your gut, per se. And what happens is your body sees obesity fat as energy, and it's trying to hang on to it. So as the patient starts losing weight, their body starts going, oh my gosh, this person's dying. We need to hang on to it. So it starts upregulating the hormones that make you feel hungry. So the patient actually feels more hungry 3 months down the road on their diet. It also starts slowing your metabolism down. So their own bodies are fighting against them, and that's why the failure rate is almost 100%. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the different types of surgeries, and here are the main surgeries. I'll use a pointer. First one's a gastric bypass. So what we do in this, here's your esophagus, here's your stomach, here's your intestines, that's your colon. First thing we do is we take a stapling device, we come across the stomach, and we basically make a small pouch, size of a large egg. Then we go downstream, divide the small intestine here. This side will come up and attach to here. That's called the roux limb. This is why it's called a roux and white gastric bypass for the first guy who did it. Then stomach juice, bile and pancreas juice that comes to right here. We're gonna attach this end downstream, and that's the bypass. So this works 2 ways, and the good surgeries work 2 ways. When you eat, you feel full faster. So when your stomach is that small, you eat 4 ounces of meat, you're stuffed. Sends a signal back to your brain, you're fully stuffed. Then on top of that, you're not absorbing all of the calories that you put in. So you're not absorbing as much. That's how people lose weight. Well, what about the body thinking, okay, this person's starving to death? Well, we've tricked the body, because the body is now getting the signal from the stomach that the person is full and satisfied. So it's not upregulating the hormones to make them feel hungry or slowing their metabolism down. In fact, it speeds it up. So that's the gastric bypass. It's been around since 1967. We do it a lot differently today, but that's how long it's been around. This is the sleeve gastrectomy. What we do is we take a stapling device and basically staple the stomach off. So this part actually comes out. Now, I'm going to show you a picture here in a little bit. So think of how big this is, and then think to yourselves, how are we going to get that out? Okay? It doesn't work quite as well as the other ones. As you can see, the stomach is bigger, and we're not bypassing anything. So when you eat food, you're absorbing every single calorie. So this is kind of the least favorite one. Think of the duodenal switch. This is my favorite operation. It's the hardest to do. This one works the best. What we're doing here. And this is what I love about general surgery. You get to see all the organs. You're in there working. You can see it all. And what we do is we do a sleeve. And then we divide the duodenum here. So this end was attached there. So it swings down. Then we count backwards 300 centimeters from the colon, and we do what we call an anastomosis, or a connection. So we bypass about half the intestine. Stomach is bigger, and you're bypassing the intestine. Works the best. We've got at least 20 patients that have lost well over 300 pounds from this surgery. It's our most powerful surgery. Well, Okay, and then there's something called the balloon. This is for like smaller patients that don't need to lose as much weight. And what happens here, I'll go back, should be a video. Okay, is we actually go endoscopically through the mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach with this balloon. We're then gonna inflate this thing with 500 cc's of saline. What does that do? Makes the stomach smaller. So when they eat food, stomach smaller, sends a signal back to the brain, full, stop eating. No malabsorption, so it doesn't work quite as well. It can only stay in 6 months. And then when it's done, we go in, endoscopic again. You basically poke a hole in it, suck the fluid out, grab it, and then pull it back out. So that's how the balloon works. This is just to show you an old one. It's called the lap band. You guys may have heard of it, but literally it is a band that goes around the very top of the stomach. It's connected to tubing, which then comes out and sits underneath your skin, right on your abdominal wall. So you put this in, patient comes back in a month. You would actually inject this port right here, which is under the skin. You feel it, stick a needle in it, put saline in it. Fluid goes through the tubing, into the band where there's a balloon around it, and it blows it up, making the hole smaller. So bottom line is, didn't work. Not a great surgery. Okay, now here's how we do the surgeries. And this is what's real important, and this is where the fellowship training and all the extra things that you do to keep a patient safe come into handy. This is old surgery, cut from top to bottom. You open somebody up, you put retractors in, split them open, and you do all the work. Does that look like it feels good? Well, and you guys probably know this, but when you injure something, break a bone, tear a tendon, anything like that, it never goes back to the same. It's never as strong. It's the same with your abdominal wall. So think about how often you use your abdominal wall, your muscles. You use it actually with every breath you take. So when that's injured, it's a huge problem. And this is how we do it. It's called laparoscopic or minimally invasive surgery. A series of tiny little incisions. You put a camera in through one of those incisions. You're looking at everything through these big 40-inch HD monitors, and you're doing everything that you do that way, but you're doing it with long instruments, looking at a monitor like that. Why is that better? Well, okay, who knows what that is? What? No, I mean, what is this called right here? Yeah, that's a good guess. Someone said a hematoma, and that's a big, like, bleeding, right? Like it's trapped. So if this was right after surgery, I'd guess that. It's called a hernia. You guys heard of hernia? All a hernia is, the simplest definition, is something going from where it's supposed to be to someplace it's not supposed to be. So common one you may see is a belly button hernia. People have outies. That's actually something coming from the inside out. You see them in the groins with athletes. This is called an incisional hernia. So she got cut from here to here to have some surgery done. And she came into our office to have this fixed. What's actually bulging out? Intestines. Okay, what's keeping it in? Her skin. That's a hard thing to fix because the muscles have been damaged. They're not going back to normal. We've got to get them back in, get the wall closed, and then have it stay closed. But as you know, when you injure something, it never goes back to as strong as it was. Okay, I asked the question of where we get that stomach out in the sleeve, right? What do you think this stomach came out? This is what she had. She had a sleeve gastrectomy. Notice there's not a big cut, right? Tiny little holes. What if I told you it came out right here? How did we get that big thing out through that hole? Shrunk it? Kind of. You got to make it long, and almost like if you have a towel, okay, you can fold a towel, right? It becomes big and bulky. Or you can take that towel and spin it and make it long and skinny. Then you grab it and you pull it out. And that's it, minimally invasive. So you can take big things out through small holes. You can do colon cancer surgery this way. We do pancreatic tumors, adrenal tumors, all sorts of things can happen that way. So the bottom line is laparoscopic is way better. They're in the hospital a lot less time. Our patients normally stay in the hospital about 23 hours, then they're home. The wounds are minimal, like you saw. Ultimately, they just have a lot less pain. They're back to work faster, which is important because the big surgery, you're usually out for 2 months before you go back to work. So if you have a job and you're providing for your family, being out 2 months is a big deal. Now, people will say, okay, surgery is surgery. It has risks. We all know that. But how safe is obesity? Everybody knows breast cancer is bad, right? Colon cancer is bad. Two most common cancers. Obesity kills more people every year than both those cancers combined. But no one really talks about that. So that's why we do something. So we talk about the leading causes of preventable death, like things you can stop doing so you can live longer. Would everybody agree that smoking's bad? Yes. Okay, like we've proven it. Obesity is number 2. It's right behind that. So think about the danger of it. Now, with COVID, what was really interesting is people talked about risk factors. And they talked about risk factors for dying if you got COVID. And it was diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. But who had that? The obese patients, right. And so really the biggest risk factor for dying was obesity. They're on tons of meds. The problem with medicines is they cost a bunch. And once you get on meds 4, 5, and 6, then you have to start 7, 8, 9 for the side effects from them. So the best thing is to not have to take the medicines. Okay, so it's a real patient. I want you to listen to her.
I decided to have weight loss surgery to be able to feel good again. I wasn't feeling good in my own skin. I wasn't comfortable experiencing new things. So I just felt like I was in a shell and I just wasn't living my life. I was just existing. My biggest challenge prior to weight loss surgery was probably just the lack of energy to do anything. My weight held me back because I was always tired. My quality of life since surgery is so much better. I have energy, I'm happy, I'm comfortable, I'm willing to try and experience new things. So I'm just living my life and not just going through motions anymore. The biggest change is feeling like me. I don't feel like I have to hide. I can be comfortable being who I am.
This is the red carpet event that we had that raised money. That was for our patients to come, dress up, rock the runway, you know, and basically get back to normal. Now, for people that think, okay, she just should have exercised, here's what I tell everybody who says that. You can get to a weight that's too dangerous to exercise. You're gonna hurt a knee, you're gonna hurt an ankle, you're gonna hurt a hip. But if you don't believe me, here's your challenge. Strap on a 100-pound weight vest, and leave it on for 1 week. Take it off to shower, that's it. And that's what these patients experience. They're carrying on all this extra weight and think how hard that must be, how exhausting it is. So here's one of my all-time favorites. He came into the office and he said, I get home from work and I can't get off the couch. And most people would look at him and go, well, that's his problem. Well, what he was saying is that he was exhausted. He literally couldn't get off the couch. He was up for 10 hours. His ankles, knees, hips, back were killing him. And he gave everything he had at work. So he did his gastric bypass. And this is him right before he ran the Little Rock Marathon. He couldn't walk a block. And then he goes off and decides to run a marathon. And this is the fun stuff. Now, when I show you these pictures, don't look at these and think, oh wow, she looks great. Because that's not why we do it. That's an awesome side effect, but we don't do this to look better. We do this to get people healthier and to save their lives. To make their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their heart disease, all that go away. So she's from Tulsa, she came here, she's lost about 150 pounds. She's huge on Instagram. She was huge before the weight loss surgery. One interesting thing is she had the surgery and her followers went way up. She sells stuff on social media. Okay, close to 600 pounds. And this is her now, hiking, doing everything. And this is after she's lost 390 pounds. She went from almost like being in bed all the time to not. All these people, I think, would tell you they just feel better and they're out there enjoying life again. To the point where they won't get on an airplane. Anybody know why they don't like to ride on airplanes? Because they have to ask for that seatbelt extender. It's embarrassing. When they go out to eat, they don't want to sit at a booth. You know why? Because it doesn't move. It's uncomfortable, it's embarrassing. So that's what we do, is just try to give them their life back. So, married couple, this is a preacher up in Bentonville, and he's doing things like sledding. He couldn't get down on the ground. He wouldn't have gone sledding because he couldn't have gotten back up. And just selfing all the time. Overalls. Why do especially men, why do they wear overalls that are big? Because they're more comfortable. So I can always tell you in a year, this is what I tell all patients that come in, if I see you in overalls, I promise you in 1 year you'll be back in jeans. And that's him. Would you look at him and go, wow, he had weight loss surgery? Does he look different, normal, healthy? That's what we're going for. So here's one of my favorites as well. She's a hairstylist in Rogers. Just fit, healthy, nothing different. All the same stuff. This guy is actually playing ice hockey now down in Russellville. Did you know they had ice hockey in Russellville? I didn't either. I can't even imagine. Became a weightlifter. I mean, those shoulders are huge. Doing things like this, she is a non-stop hiker. She could fit herself into one leg. And I think it's just important to realize what carrying all that extra weight around does, mentally and physically. So this lady is really funny. She's on social media or Instagram, and her tagline is "losing for the Gucci belt." And that was her goal, was to lose the weight so she could get a Gucci belt. But she is phenomenal. Riding, he's doing triathlons. She's been amazing. So we're in Springdale, Arkansas, right? How many people realize this is like one of the places to come in the country for weight loss surgery? Where we've had people from 47 of the 50 states come here to do it. We're missing Montana, Vermont, and Oregon. So if you know somebody from those states, please send them this way. But we actually got somebody coming from England in the next month to have surgery here. And it's right here. Not many people think of Arkansas as you know, a destination, but it really is. She's a nurse over in Mountain Home. Think of how much easier it is to do her job now, day to day. So this was the event that we had. All 4 ladies had weight loss surgery. Again, could you look at the picture and know that? Do they look happy? Confident? Healthy? That's what we're going for. So I love these two. They both, husband and wife, can fit in his old jacket. So there's lots of fun things we'll do with him. So not only is this guy a patient, he's one of my good friends. He's a chef. Think about how hard that is to be a chef and suffer from obesity. So he came over to cook dinner one night for my birthday a couple years ago, and this was a year later. What he'll tell you is that he's actually a better chef, because now he's preparing stuff in a much more healthy way. And his customers really like it that way. Okay, so this was the event we had. We had 37 people walk the runway, but over 500 people in attendance, and this is how we raise money. 36 people. What's the total weight loss on that stage? Somebody guess. How many thousands? 2,000. Higher. 4 higher. 6 higher. It's 6,500 pounds. That's how much this group lost. It's still mind-boggling. So, this is a funny story with this guy. He's from Fort Smith and came up, and I will just tell you in general, big guys in general, we're big babies when it comes to surgery and pain. We don't do well with it. So he wanted some other surgery. I talked him into the gastric bypass. His diabetes, his high blood pressure, his sleep apnea, his joint pain all went away. And so about 3 months after taking that picture, he went skiing with his family, snow skiing. First time in like 14 years. And he fell and broke a few ribs, and he emailed me and said, "Hey doc, I'm up here, I fell and broke a few ribs, this is all your fault." I'm like, oh great, how could this possibly be my fault? I said, "Brian, I'm not sure what you're talking about." He goes, "Well, I was up here skiing and having so much fun, but I never would have been up here if I hadn't lost the weight. I would fall every year for the rest of my life and break 3 ribs to keep doing this." Because guess where he was when his family was skiing? At the bottom of the mountain, sitting in the cabin. So now he got out there doing stuff. And that is one of the best things about this. There are lots of ways in medicine to get into and help with obesity and weight loss surgery. You don't just have to be the surgeon. We have 14 or 15 nurse practitioners and PAs. We have 6 registered dietitians. We've got 5 surgeons. We have medical assistants, nurses, front office, people in the psychology part of it. There's a lot of different ways to get into medicine and help. These are all the things that we have, and then how we do them. People should always ask questions about surgeries. Now, is Facebook, are you guys too young for Facebook? Yeah, it's okay. So don't go to Facebook and follow us, but we're also on Instagram, and that's some place where you can see a lot of the results and send people if they need it. And then we are also online. So that's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
So when you start surgery, how long did it take you, or what you still do, to kind of get over the stress of like performing a surgery and all the risk that involved, like being a surgeon? Like, how did you get over it?
So that's an interesting thing, and a lot of that happens during your residency when you're working with senior people. So you kind of learn from them and how you do it. And so when you're in surgery, if you just sat there and thought about the gravity of what you're doing, and this person could die every second, you would lose your mind. So you really become kind of task-based and oriented. Okay, I've got to do this step, this step, this step, this step, surgery's done. You have to kind of get out of that mentality. Then after the surgery, that's when you start worrying about, okay, well, what if this goes wrong? What if they have a blood clot? What if they're bleeding? And I would say you just get used to it, but ultimately what you have to realize is that every person you touch is somebody's mom, sister, wife, daughter. There's somebody very important. So when people come into the OR with us, and we do take students in the OR to watch, what you'll realize is that we're not talking about the surgery. We're talking about everything but the surgery. Because if that's all you focused on and it was that intense all the time, people would burn out and not want to do it. So we try to keep the OR fun. We do a great job, and we are my team, scrub techs is something else I forgot, OR nurses, another way to get involved. But you just can't, humans aren't built to be that intense all the time. And I'll do 5 to 6 of these surgeries Monday through Wednesday, and then on Thursdays they do all the skin removal surgeries. And so I think you just get used to it and realize it's your job. And then when somebody calls and has a problem, that's when you kind of turn into, okay, now I got to be worried. That's a great question. What else? Yes?
Did you know you wanted to be a surgeon?
No. I thought I wanted to go into medicine. And then in my first year of college, I did, and I was like, well, I don't know. And then I decided, screw it, I'm going to be going to international business. And what I found out my sophomore year, my first semester, was I was really good at accounting because 2 + 2 = 4. But economics killed me. Like I couldn't think, you know, if the price goes up here, what happens to the value there? Like I was like, okay, I'm going back to medicine. When I went to Duke, I really had no intention of becoming a bariatric surgeon. I just wanted to learn the surgeries, because if you can operate on somebody who's 400 or 500 pounds using minimally invasive techniques, then you can do anything. And then I got there and realized just how like appreciative and nice and like the patients were amazing. They will never forget your name. You help somebody lose 100 pounds, they will never forget your name. And to this day, I mean, it was hard during COVID. When I see somebody at Sam's, they'd run up and say, oh, hey, hey, and, you know, they got a mask on, they lost 150 pounds. I'd have no idea who they are. Then they tell me their name, fine. It's rewarding. I guess that's what I would tell you. And it's not just rewarding because I did the surgery. I think Mandy, that helps me in surgery, would tell you it's rewarding. I think our nurses, when our patients come in, you know, like we just had a guy come back from Mississippi. I did a surgery last year. He came back up to get his gallbladder out. So there's plenty of people who can take gallbladders out in Mississippi. But he wanted to come back to Springdale. And I mean, he's basically high-fiving everybody in the office. Because everybody plays a part in it. It's not just the surgery. So I changed my mind somewhere along the way. You don't have to go into college knowing exactly what you want to do. It's better to pick that out sooner rather than later. You'll be in college for 5 or 6 years. Parents will get upset. But what else? Anything else? Yeah.
How long does like an average surgery take you?
So that's a good question. So depends on the type of surgery. So I do a lot of the duodenal switch. We do ours in somewhere between 35 and 45 minutes. But we have a well-oiled machine. My team is awesome. The national average is around 2.5 hours. Why is that important? Because it's not a race. If you go in there and watch us, we would not look like we're moving fast. But the less time the patient is under general anesthesia, the faster and quicker their recovery will be. So if you're just, you know, dinking around in the OR, not accomplishing much, and the patient's under anesthesia, it just increases their recovery time. So fast, efficient, all of that's important in surgery, especially when you're talking about morbid obesity, because they're sicker than they look. And a sleeve might take me 20 minutes. Gallbladder could take, so gallbladders can be really hard or really easy. So I tell you, 15 minutes to an hour. Appendicitis, it depends on the thing. That's the other thing. Once you can do these surgeries, all the other stuff becomes a little bit easier. Who thinks they want to go into surgery? Do you know what kind? So neurosurgery's like beast mode. Because everything you do, so you're talking about how intense it is. When you're operating on somebody's brain or spine, that's intense. And I had back surgery 8 years ago. I had a fusion from my 5th lumbar spine to my sacrum. And they went from the front to get to my spine. I had done that exposure. It takes a general surgeon to get there, and the spine surgeon does it. And so this is where, when you're in medicine, one of the hardest things to do is to turn around and then be the patient. So I knew what could happen by doing those exposures. So I delayed the surgery about a year. It's like, there's no way I'm not doing that. Are you kidding? I do those surgeries. Iliac artery, iliac vein, my spine, I could be paralyzed. So that's awesome. You know you want to do that because we need spine surgeons. Do you want to be a surgeon? Okay. Put people to sleep. They're important too. Now, just know that surgeons, we make fun of anesthesiologists all the time, so be ready for it. Well, actually, we do that because there's a lot of camaraderie in the OR. They make fun of us all the time too, especially up being late, almost like I was today.
Yeah, but so my question though was, I assume you so what made you decide to home your clinic instead of working?
Okay, so that's a great question. So you have hospitals, and you have people that work in hospitals, and I knew what kind of bariatric, I knew I wanted to have my own program and be able to call the shots of how we do certain things. My dad is a family practice doctor in Tulsa. My mom was his office manager, so that's what I heard about every single night forever growing up. And there are some pitfalls about owning your own business because things, are made or get broken based on your decisions. And so we made some tough decisions, some great decisions, and it all works out. I just am very much like to be my own boss and not necessarily get told how to do things. And so when you're working in a hospital for a hospital, you're gonna get told, especially if that hospital happens to be owned by another corporation in another state. So that's where things get a little wonky, but that's just my personality. And I think either which one's fine. You're gonna be happy doing either one. Anybody else? Yes? So your intestines will not grow back. In fact, but there is one organ that will regenerate. Does anybody know what that is? Liver, yeah. Your liver can actually, so like if somebody needs a liver transplant, a lot of times what they'll do is called a living donor transplant. Well, they'll go to, a mom with somebody, a match, take half their liver, put the other half in the recipient or the patient, and it will grow. The donor's liver will grow back. Everything else, though, is once you take it out, it's done. You've crossed the bridge and burned it behind you. So that's why you gotta be careful on not taking out too much intestine, because if you don't have, so your small intestine is responsible for absorbing everything you need to absorb. Your colon does water, but your small intestine does all the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, protein. So when you're in there, if somebody gets twisted bowel or something like that from, any surgery can cause it, you have to be careful how much you take out. But if the whole thing's dead, then that's not compatible with life. So those are tough decisions you face. And we see crazy things all the time coming into the ER. So who wanted to go into the ER? Somebody? You'll see some crazy stuff. So, yes?
What do you do with the stomach acid of the stomach when you are trying to remove part of it?
Okay, so the whole stomach makes acid, right? So when you take out part of the stomach, there's just a lower amount of acid. But acid, in general, helps break things down. Hernia, right? You'll never forget that picture, I promise. So, like in a gastric bypass, this part of the stomach still makes its acid. And it's gonna come down and around and pick up bile and pancreas juice, which comes in here, and then it dumps it right here. So when you eat food, it comes down your esophagus, into your pouch, down this intestine, and then this is where absorption starts. Acid, bile, pancreas juice, all help absorption. So you still have some. So especially here, there's not hardly any acid in this thing, in your pouch, but there's a whole bunch coming, it's just happening downstream. Does that make sense? We're basically just reworking the plumbing. And you can hook these things up. You can hook this roux limb. I show it to a pouch, but that's also if somebody had a bile duct cancer. When we took it out, we'd use that. Instead of attaching it to here, we'd attach it to the bile duct. You could attach it to the pancreas. You could attach it to the gallbladder. You can attach this roux limb in a variety of fashions. That's not for weight loss. We're just doing this for weight loss. Yes?
So your thing says weight loss and advanced surgery. What's the advanced?
So that's where we do minimally invasive colon cancers, hernias. Like one thing that I do all the surgeries, or our practice does all the surgeries for the Razorback, the athletic department. So the minimally invasive part is the advanced surgery part. Because, you know, when a football player comes in with a hernia, if you make a big incision somewhere, they're going to be out for the rest of the season. When you do 3 tiny incisions, or if somebody gets appendicitis, that can happen. Let's say one of your football players got appendicitis. We would do it through 3 tiny incisions. They'd be ready to go in a week and a half and not miss the rest of the season. So minimally invasive is good. Less pain, quicker return to work, less side effects, all of it. Good question. Picked up on that. You're probably going to some sort of marketing too. Yes?
Back to the stomach acid thing, the surgeries where you're actually taking off parts, like, how do you keep it from like getting onto the organs?
Well, so it's all what we call intraluminal, or on the inside. Okay, so and when you staple, so that's a really good question. You see how there's 3 rows here and 3 rows here? So what a stapling device does, it's about 6 centimeters, the cartridge is, and those staples literally look like, you know when you staple paper, how it starts off like here, and then it ends up like a B? That's exactly what those look like. They're just 3 millimeters in size. Then they will crunch down to like 1.7. And so there's different cartridges or colors for different staple heights. So stomach is thicker than small intestine. So like in this instance, I use purple loads, or what we call cartridges going up. Small intestine, I'll use orange or tan. They're all different heights. Colon, I'll use purple. So what happens is as you're stapling, it's deploying staples on the left side and the right side, and then there's a knife blade that goes between and cuts. Okay? So everything still stays closed. Now when you're doing a connection, like here, you obviously have to, what happens is basically, we've divided it, swung down, we make a hole here, we make a hole here, and then we sew the 2 holes together. That's making the connection. But, you know, you try not to, you do things like they don't eat or drink after midnight, they're on clear liquids the day before, so there's hardly anything in the stomach, so nothing spills out. Okay? That's a good question too. Yes? So I'll do a BMI of 30 and higher. If they're over 700 pounds, we'll work with it. Well, even if they're 600, we'll still work with them to lose weight, but we won't make them get down to a certain number. And that's one of the things that this surgery, why I love the duodenal switch so much, is number one, it loses the most weight. But when you compare it to, okay, you see how you got a pouch up here, your stomach sits way up, like way up under your chest bone. So that's high. So you got to get intestine to go from here all the way up here. And things that cause badness, what we call leaks, or too much tension on it, where the connection is tight, barely being held together, or the blood supply is poor. In really big people, there's a lot of fat on the inside, and the ability for the intestine to go up is limited. So here, what happens is when you divide this thing right here, this stomach will actually go way down, like come way down here, and you make your connection there. So it's all less tension on it. So we've been able to, in the past, I've been doing this one for about 6 years, do up to 650 pounds using this surgery. But you can be too big. You can be too big. I've had it where we're working on somebody, their abdominal wall is this thick, so when you're doing your instruments, like they're bending. And I've actually had a stapler like break in half on me. And that's when I said there's nothing, you know, the person's gonna have to lose weight before we can do anything. But that's the range. Yeah.
Is there any way that how the hormones after surgery affect the brain? Like, is there any changes?
Okay, that's an awesome question, and that has been studied. So, for instance, in this surgery, there's a hormone called ghrelin, and it's one of the hormones that makes you feel hungry. It goes way down here when that part of the stomach is removed. It also goes down here when the stomach is bypassed. The problem with hormones in our body is our bodies are meant to adapt. So if I take one of your kidneys out, what does the other one do? It works twice as hard, right? If I take a section of your colon out, what does the rest of your colon do? It makes up for it. So if you just take one hormone out, the other 19 will start working to make up for that. Does that make sense? So that's why they can't necessarily just make a pill for this, because you can block one hormone, but there's a whole bunch of others that will take over. And that's how our bodies are meant to. In case something gets injured, it's taken out, it's meant to adapt. That's why you can live on half a liver. You can live on a lot less than half a liver. You can live without your spleen. You can live without both adrenal glands. But it's just, our bodies are meant to adapt and take over. It's a really good question. Anything else? All you want to know about weight loss surgery? All right, so we did this event, and we raised about, and this was surprising to us, we got sponsors. This is the first time we've ever done this thing called the red carpet event. Sold tickets, got sponsors, and we ended up raising about $23,000. And so we're gonna donate. One of the things why we did it, and we picked it beforehand, was to donate to the medical clubs at both Springdale and Har-Ber high schools. So you guys are gonna have $11,680 to put to good use. Okay?
Wow.
So I want you to put it to good use. So and this is something we see continuing for the next, as long as I'm practicing, and hopefully beyond that. Because what I didn't mention is 2/3 of Americans are impacted by obesity, and right now it's 1/3 of kids. So it's a problem that's getting worse, and the people who are gonna fix it are y'all. So think about that. Otherwise, we'll end it here. I appreciate your time. Good luck in your schooling, and if you ever have any questions or need anything, feel free to reach out to us, okay?
I think we want to get a picture, right?
Yeah, let's do a picture.
Let's do a picture. Do you want to just get in the middle here
Sure.
with the check, and then y'all get on the stage and take a picture that way? Will that work? Just to not have a lot of people have to move? That works. Okay, great. Do you two want to get Dr. Griep, everybody? Yeah. Teachers get in there, and wow. You don't see a lot of business people giving back to the community. Y'all, we're so lucky to live in Northwest Arkansas, and that Dr. Roller chose to be in Springdale. He has a story that he shared with Springdale High when he was doing this last week, that they were looking at a lot of different places, but they ended up picking this area. It's an hour and a half from his family in Tulsa, and we're just really blessed that you're here. So it's awesome. So you get in the middle too, yeah, however you want to. You say what you want to do with that picture and where you want Dr. Roller, and Miss Coker, you need to get in there. So Miss Coker is the communications director for Roller Weight Loss, so interesting job as well. She gets to do lots of fun stuff. Dr. Roller, you have to get in and sit next to, yeah, I mean, like, hello, yes, you're the, okay, he's getting a different lens. So look at all y'all getting your face on. I like it. All right, this is awesome. If some of y'all want to move up, you can. How many of you all are graduating this year? Woo, look at the seniors in the house. That's awesome. That's good. That's exciting. I'm about to be an empty nester with the senior leaving too. That's pretty awesome. Your parents are ready for you to go too. They may say they're not, but behind the scenes they're going, yes, freedom. He got the new lens. He's coming. Miss Foster, you can come get in this picture too. What? Oh, I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her. Anybody seen Miss Sugg? She's in a meeting, says Miss Davis. Where is the meeting? Do you know? She doesn't know. Okay, so here's your blue team.
Yeah, I'm going to count it out. All right, you guys ready? All right, 3, 2, 1.
Aw, I like the big smiles in the back. That's awesome.
Let's do one more.
Do you want some of the back to stand up? Would that help?
I'm getting pretty much all of
All
them.
right.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. All right, you guys are good.
Thank y'all so much. Are they dismissed to lunch? Where are they dismissed to? Miss Davis, I want to give you the phone. I mean the microphone. The phone.
Guys, go to third period, right? We're still in third? How much? Oh. You only got 3 minutes, so just be quiet. And go where you're supposed to go fourth period. But don't make noise.